Breaking news. Raider Nation, something big is brewing and fans everywhere are talking about it. The Raiders have major decisions coming up on which young stars will stay long-term, and the debate has already started. Today, we're breaking it all down, clear, direct, and straight to the point. Stay locked in, because what you hear today might just change how you look at this team's future. But before we dive into the latest updates, a quick reminder. If you're a true Raiders fan and want to stay ahead of all the breaking news, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and don't forget to press the bell icon so you never miss a single update. Now, let's move on to the big story. The big question right now, which Raiders rookies are almost guaranteed to be re-signed when their first contracts expire? Many fans believe Brock Bowers and JPJ are already clear locks. And honestly, that makes sense. They've both shown enough talent and upside that the front office would be crazy not to keep them around. Another name gaining attention is Janty. Drafted high, productive, and fitting perfectly into the team's plans, it feels almost certain the Raiders will want him to stay for the long haul. On the other hand, some names remain question marks. Players like Darren Porter and Dylan Pum will need to prove themselves this season before the organization decides. And with so many young faces from different coaching regimes, the Raiders must figure out which players truly fit the long-term vision. Meanwhile, discussions about replacing Amari Cooper are also heating up. Yes, the Raiders gave him a big opportunity before, but now they're clearly searching for someone else to step into that role. Some names floating around include Robert Woods and even Tyler Boyd. But here's the real dilemma. Should the Raiders focus more on strengthening the offensive line or fixing the secondary instead of chasing another wide receiver? Because if we're being honest, protecting the quarterback and locking down corners might be a much bigger need right now. Imagine this, the Raiders bring in a proven veteran like Stephon Gilmore. That move alone would instantly reshape the secondary. Picture Gilmore locking down one side, Eric Stokes holding the other, and young standout Q Blue Kelly sliding into the slot, a role he's already proven he can handle. Suddenly, the defense feels far more secure. And honestly, if we're comparing Kelly at nickel to Darnay Holmes, it's not even close. Most fans would tell you the same. Kelly gives the Raiders more reliability, more upside, and simply more confidence in big moments. Now, let's shift to Brock Bowers. Raider Nation has been buzzing with one big question: will he suit up and find the end zone? Here's what we know. During last week's matchup against the Patriots, sources close to the team revealed that Bowers actually wanted to get back in the game despite the rough conditions. That alone shows his toughness and hunger to compete. Fast forward to now, heading into Monday Night Football against the Chargers, the expectation is that Bowers will be available. He may not be at full strength, and there's even talk that the coaching staff could manage his snaps carefully. But even if he's not 100%, Bowers remains a weapon that defenses can't ignore. What does that mean for the game plan? It likely opens the door for guys like Michael Mayer and Jakobi Meyers to step into bigger roles. The Raiders know they can't overload Bowers if he's less than 100%, but the silver lining is that this offense has other dangerous options ready to step up. And here's the key stat: despite not finishing last week's game, Bowers still leads all tight ends in receiving yards. That tells you everything you need to know about his impact. Whether he's at 80%, 70%, or anywhere in between, when Bowers is on the field, he changes the game. Even at less than full strength, Brock Bowers still looks like one of the top 5 tight ends in the entire NFL. If he's active on Monday night, defenses will have no choice but to respect his presence. Whether he's running at 100% or not, the Raiders know he's still capable of turning a game around with a single play. Now let's move to another hot question: can Janty outshine Josh Jacobs this season? On pure talent, Janty brings speed, vision, and a burst that's hard to match. But if we're being realistic, Jacobs might still end up with the bigger numbers. Why? Because of the situations around them. Green Bay's offensive line is stronger, and their defense is built to create more chances to pound the rock. That naturally puts Jacobs in position to rack up yards. But here's where it gets interesting: Jacobs has always been streaky. One great year, then a step back, then another surge. That pattern has followed him his entire career. If that cycle continues, Janty could sneak past him and put up a breakout season. So, while Jacobs may hold the edge on paper, don't be surprised if Janty shocks a lot of people by season's end. And of course, none of this matters without solid play up front. The offensive line is the backbone of any attack. After last week's struggles, the big question is, will the Raiders' O-line look sharper against the Chargers? Some players pointed out that the field conditions and weather against New England were brutal. It was tough to anchor, tough to hold ground, and it showed. But here's the challenge, the Chargers' defensive front is no joke. In fact, it's stronger than what the Patriots put on the field. That means the Raiders' line has no margin for error. If they can't protect and create space, frustration will boil over quickly. Raider Nation is watching closely, because this battle in the trenches could decide the entire game. Alright Raider Nation, let's shift gears to a big question that's been circling around the league. What happens if a young quarterback like Drake May doesn't develop the way people expected in New England? Some fans have already started asking if the Raiders, or another team, should consider trading for him either this year or next. But let's be real, no franchise is going to give up on a top draft pick after just one season. It's simply too early for that kind of move. Now, if May were to somehow hit the open market in the future, that would be a different story. And history tells us these situations can flip fast. Remember when Jordan Love was buried on the Packers bench? A lot of people dismissed him, some even laughed at the idea he could ever replace a starter. And yet, a few years later, he's proving doubters wrong and showing that patience can pay off. The lesson here? Quarterbacks develop on their own timeline. Some shine right away, others take a little longer. But when you're talking about a first-round talent like Drake May, you can't write him off after one rough season. If the day ever comes when he's available, you better believe several teams, including the Raiders, would at least pick up the phone. When it comes to quarterbacks, comparisons are always tricky. Geno Smith has been a steady veteran presence, and Raiders fans can't help but respect what he's accomplished. But he's also 34 years old, while Drake May represents the next generation of talent. Coming out of his draft class, May was my top-rated quarterback, yes, even ahead of Jayden Daniels and Caleb Williams. That doesn't mean a move like that will ever happen, but in the NFL, nothing is impossible. Now let's shift to Ashton Janty. Can he crack 100 rushing yards this week? Honestly, I don't see it. The matchup doesn't favor him pounding the ball on the ground all night. But reaching 100 total yards? That's much more realistic. The key is getting him into space, using screens, short passes, and creative play designs. When Janty has room to work, he's electric. The Raiders can't afford to keep him bottled up with predictable runs that go nowhere. And then there's Max Crosby. If you're asking whether he's motivated, the answer is always yes. But this week feels different. After hearing the chatter last year about Joe Alt, Crosby has taken it personally. He's carrying extra fire into Monday Night Football, under the bright lights, in front of a home crowd that's going to be rocking. Imagine stepping out of that tunnel with 86% of the stadium in silver and black, it's goosebump material. Make no mistake, Crosby will bring the energy. And with that kind of stage, don't be surprised if he makes at least one game-changing sack to remind everyone exactly who he is. When it comes to building around young talent, Raider Nation often wonders, who's the true cornerstone of this team's future, Brock Bowers or Ashton Janty? Both bring excitement, both can change a game, but if I had to choose just one, I'd lean toward Bowers. Here's why: elite tight ends last longer in this league than running backs. Janty might have the flashier short-term impact, but Bowers has the skill set to dominate for the next decade. His ability to line up like a receiver, stretch the field, and create mismatches makes him one of the most valuable weapons in football today. Now, let's turn to matchups. Between the Patriots and Chargers, who has the better secondary? If Christian Gonzalez is fully healthy, the edge goes to New England. But since he hasn't been on the field, the Chargers hold the upper hand right now. And there's one matchup in particular that stands out. If Las Vegas can scheme Dante Thornton Jr. against one of LA's slower corners, it could open up the deep passing game in a big way. Thornton's 6 feet 5 inches frame paired with his blazing speed is a nightmare for defenders who can't keep up stride for stride. A few early shots downfield could force adjustments, creating opportunities to attack that side of the field all game long. And then there's the Chargers' offense. If you're asking which player, besides Justin Herbert, should keep Raiders fans up at night, it has to be Keenan Allen. Even at his age, Allen remains one of the most reliable route runners in the NFL. In their last outing, he was targeted 10 times, caught 7 passes, and 6 of those went for either a first down or a touchdown. That kind of efficiency is deadly. Pair him with young talent like Ladd McConkey, and suddenly the Chargers' passing attack looks very dangerous. This is the challenge awaiting the Raiders' secondary: contain Keenan Allen, limit explosive plays, and make Herbert look elsewhere. Because if Allen gets comfortable, he'll move the chains all night long. For years, Justin Herbert's security blanket has been Keenan Allen. Whenever things break down, whenever the pressure rises, Herbert always turns to Allen. Take that safety net away, and suddenly the Chargers' offense doesn't look quite the same. That's why, if the Raiders want to slow down Los Angeles, neutralizing Allen has to be priority number 1. Now, plenty of people will point to other names, Omari and Hampton, Ladd McConkey, even some of their younger weapons, but Allen remains the heartbeat of that passing attack. His ability to win routes in clutch moments, convert first downs, and move the chains consistently makes him the most dangerous threat outside of Herbert himself. If Las Vegas can disrupt that connection, they put the Chargers in a spot where Herbert has to beat them without his most trusted option. And speaking of decisions, another storyline hovering over this season is the future of Jakobi Meyers. Do the Raiders look to extend him, or do they play the waiting game until closer to the trade deadline? That's when conversations usually heat up, because deadlines force action. Personally, I'd keep him no matter what. He brings stability, chemistry, and production to this offense. Even if the team decides otherwise, there's still the compensatory pick option down the line. But letting a receiver of his caliber walk for nothing mid-season? That would be a mistake. Big picture, this all ties back to what's coming on Monday night. Raiders vs. Chargers. Rivalry football at its best. Every time these two meet, there's extra fire, extra emotion, and memories that stick with fans forever. Whether it's dramatic overtime wins or blowout statements, the history between these teams runs deep. And nothing would be sweeter for Raider Nation than walking off the field after handing Herbert and the Bolts another beating.